greatest team in the world, we are known. As we follow on, we are the people through and through, the bold and blue, since 1870.
Good afternoon, all, and this is Bold and Blue 1872, and welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. My name is Chris, and I am joined today, as always, by my co-host and very good friend, Jack. Jack, how are you getting on, mate?
Very good, Chris, and good afternoon to everyone. And it's a nicer start to my week than it has been over the last few weekends.
Yeah, a win and up the road, but I think there's a wee bit more to it, isn't there?
It always is.
We'll get into it. I would ask anyone that's tuning in, if you could please like and subscribe. We would really appreciate it. We had a fantastic audience last time round, loads of viewers, because obviously it was an Old Firm game we were talking about. So it was hot on everyone's opinion after what happened last week after the game and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, great traction last week. I really appreciate everyone that's been tuning in and sharing the video. So yeah, if you are forgetting to like and subscribe, I would ask you if you could do that, please. Okay, let's get into it, Jack. We played St Mirren away at the weekend. A game that I felt was potentially a banana skin. I think I'm probably going to say banana skin for the rest of these remaining 8 games, to be quite honest with you. But this one in particular, I'd already identified as one, along with the Falkirk game. Prior to the Celtic games were the ones that I was worried about. And yeah, performance-wise, it's a win, right? I think everyone can agree it's 3 points and up the road, and we just need to win games. But I mean, that was a dire game, wasn't it, Jack? I mean, it was a rough watch, mate.
It was. It's not a game I'd be rushing back to watch. Not even the highlights. Usually I like to go back and watch kind of some of the moments, or there's times I find myself rewatching games. That is definitely not in any of those categories. But like you said, very much a case of 3 points up the road. And I have to agree with you. I was not looking forward to it beforehand. I do agree with the whole banana skin analogy, and I think that is applicable for the rest of those games. But a game against St Mirren, I always tend to find, particularly in Paisley, we never seem to do well, or it's a draw, or they will lose, or it just never seems to be one I go, right, we're going to go there and we're going to win. You know what I mean? Or even it just doesn't feel like that. So to get the win, I was happy with. Clean sheet, I was happy with. Performance, not so much. But at the end of the day, at this time of the year, it's just all about 3 points.
Yeah, a wee bit of an unknown quantity coming into the game as well. Obviously, St Mirren had lost their manager, which I'm going to be honest, it gave me a bit of optimism, a bit more optimism. Listen, I was optimistic we would beat St Mirren. You should be. It's Rangers, for fuck's sake, But at the same time, we've been here before, and St Mirren, again, as mentioned this in the last pod, they tend to turn up against us. They tend to grind out something from the game. Gogic, as usual, turns up and does what Gogic does. But yeah, the fact that they'd lost their manager, who I'm very, very fond of in terms of, I think he's destined for bigger things. Whether or not you believe where he's went is a bigger thing. I think that's dubious. But yeah, it's what's that, Jack? What's that there? Sorry, you've took me off guard there. Anyway, sorry about that. Something popped up on my screen there saying you'd requested to open a chat, mate. One of the things that jumped out to me. Okay, I see it now. Sorry. Is it coming across okay now, mate?
Just a little bit. Just dropping it a wee bit from time to time. I can hear you absolutely fine, but just so you're aware.
I've got a hard line in here. Anyway, all right. One of the things that jumped out to me from the start, and this is that I keep banging on about this, so I'm sorry to be repeating it. Dodgy Gasmam starts the game. The lineup for me is pretty solid from front to back. with the exception of this one. I made a comment on X saying Gasman equals man down. And maybe that's a bit strong, but Gasman playing on the right, definitely for me. I am so tired of seeing this. And again, it plays out as expected. I'm starting to feel sorry for this boy, to be honest with you, Jack. I felt he looked, it's like the first time he touched the ball, he had an opportunity within the first few minutes. You were probably in the chat like me, and everyone was giving him pelters. I can only imagine what he's hearing around him in the stadium. Do you know what I mean? It just looks utterly just drained of confidence at the moment. And I'm starting to feel for him because Rohl insists on playing Gasman on the right, and I'm critical of him as it is on the left. But as soon as I seen Gasman on the right, I was like, "Come on, Danny." And then I noticed a bunch of other stuff. Thelo Asgard was on the bench. Where was Bajrami? It was great to see Ant-Man back on the bench. It was great to see Connor Barron back on the bench. But yeah, the team lineup yesterday I was quite happy with. Soapy obviously being dropped out. Giga comes in again. Giga and Fernandez look like they're creating a really solid partnership together. Tavernier comes in at right back. Not a surprise, given Sterling can't seem to string more than a few games together without needing a rest. He was on the bench, so no concerns about him being injured. But yeah, Gasman. Everyone's talking about it. I've been talking about it for months. Danny Rohl keeps playing Gasman on the right. Where do we go with this, mate? I mean, why is he doing it? Why is Bajrami not playing there? Why is I know Ant-Man's probably getting up to speed, etc., but he does have other options. I mean, I again, at the risk of repeating myself, I can go back and bang on about Curtis being sent out on loan, but that's been and gone. Gasman playing on the right, he was abysmal yesterday again, mate. He really was. I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep pounding on the boy, but it's actually not Gasman I'm getting frustrated with. It's Danny Rohl for playing him there. What do you make of Gasman yesterday, mate?
Well, just to touch on that, I mean, the moment I seen the team came out, the first person I thought of was actually yourself when I seen Gasam on the
Very
right.
nice of
you. But it just doesn't work. And I think the argument before January was, he could do a job out there, and you weren't risking maybe like people like talk about like Mikey Moore, he's got to play out on the left there, things like that. But obviously there's been more options, like you said, but Bajrami's come back into the picture. Even obviously I know Skov Olsen hasn't been playing well, but he's another option. If you don't want to play Skov from the start, which was the case yesterday, do not play Bajrami. It just doesn't work. And the thing is for me is I don't think it's helping his confidence. Like, there's obviously a player in there. Like, we did see that at the beginning, particularly under the horrendous football that was being played under Russell Martin, that this was a guy who was, doing things even on an individual basis, but again, coming off that left-hand side. So I think the thing for me is I feel like he wants to be able to get him in the team. If he wants to get him in the team, there has to be a different approach, but as a lot of people have said, he's been a very good impact player recently, coming on, and I was going to say played in the left, but even when he's been coming on as an impact player, he's been playing in the right, particularly recently. So for me, it just doesn't work, and I think it's something that just shouldn't be revisited. Like, again, if the team was running kind of threadbare with injuries, there wasn't any other options, then the argument could be made for doing that he could be an option, but he just looks like a different player. And I think if you're suffering with a lack of confidence at the minute, which he, clearly is, then it's not going to help him. He's not going to be comfortable out there. I don't know. I didn't really have an issue. For example, we talk about like Tav coming back in as well. I thought that made sense with giving Sterling a bit of a break, but the Gasama one, I don't even have an issue. I don't have an issue with him playing as much, like, and getting him like maybe to build that confidence, but just not out there. It just can't be done.
Yeah, I don't. I just like there is limited options, right? I mean, we need to be honest. I mean, I keep banging on about Bajrami, and obviously Curtis is not there anymore. But Ant-Man being injured, there is limited options. I heard a number of people saying why isn't Tav playing further up, etc. I don't agree with that. We've been there, done it with Tav, pushing Tav further up, but I don't like it. It doesn't work. I still align with your comments a couple of weeks ago that Tav is an impact player that you can bring on now and make a difference because he's got that quality. He's just not got the legs anymore to do the 90 minutes. So, but against a team like St Mirren, playing Tav at right back, I've no problem with it. I had no problem whatsoever with the entire team yesterday. In terms of how I felt at the start of the game, we'll talk about some of the performances as the game proceeded. But as soon as I seen Gasman on the right, there isn't a fan that I've spoke to. There isn't a fan that I'm engaging with online that is saying that Gasman on the right is a good idea. I mean, make it make sense to me. And no one can. Do you know what I mean? I don't know why. And again, yeah, Bajrami not even being on the bench. Why is he not just starting there? I don't know, mate. Anyway, it got me off to a bad start with the game when I seen the lineup. But that was me. I was already in my pessimistic best. But the game plays, you know. I mean, there's a couple of chances to start. I want to touch on Chermiti. Chermiti gets a chance that for me, I don't know if they were waiting for the handball or whatever it might have been there, but Chermiti's got to score, hasn't he? Like he's got to score. I heard. I think it was Johnny on the review there last week. There was talking about the mentality of Chermiti and saying that he doesn't have mentality issues because he turns up in the big games. Well, I'm sorry, Johnny. I think that proves that he does have mentality issues because he's not showing up in the smaller games. He's not doing it at all. That he should have buried that, in my opinion. I don't know if it was frantic in the box, and they were. I don't know, Raskin was shouting for the handball. We'll talk about that in a minute, but yeah, Chermiti yesterday, and then let's deal with this as a pairing. Nadiri as well, mate. Nadiri seems to be playing behind Chermiti when I think Nadiri is probably the best option in front of Chermiti. And again, it's I don't know if it's just me, but I'm questioning that as a managerial decision. I think they've got it the wrong way around. I think Nadiri's probably pretty good at playing more in the hole behind the first striker. But I think Nadiri is much more likely to get you a goal in these games and grind it out. I don't know, mate. I think it's back to front at the moment, and I don't think we're seeing the best of Nadiri because of it.
I would agree. It's kind of hard. Like, so I probably think Nadiri would probably give you more in terms of like goal return, right? I think that would be fair. Am I confident about how much Miovski could do? Is not Miovski, sorry. Chermiti could do playing kind of behind him. I'm not so sure. Like, I've always kind of said that even when you go back to the goal he scored against them at Ibrox, overhead kick, fantastic goal. He never started in the box. He was, if you go back and look at the goal, he starts on the outside of the box on the left-hand side and slowly makes his way in. He never strikes me as a striker, you know, who you're going to find in the box, like, you know, all the time in the right place. Like, so the argument could be made that if he's going to play like that anyway, then, you know, you kind of drop him back. What I have found sometimes when I'm watching Rangers with us too is that they both kind of want to do the same thing, as in, like, I don't really feel any of them want to get right in the box. Do you know what I mean? So if you were playing like 1-for-1, you know, one dropping back and one, you know, who's just going to get in that box no matter what, that's lame. I don't feel that you really get that from either of them. So sometimes I feel like they're both further out the box than they should be. And there's nobody really attacking that middle of the box. And you kind of go, where's, I mean, there's times I've seen a few people mention this where the ball's coming in from like in the Deary or sometimes a Chermiti, and like you're expecting you're inverted wingers, whatever you want to call them, but they have to be in the box. And it's like, well, hold on a minute, usually the big guys. You know what I mean? The Deary's what, 6'4" or something. Like, you know, he should be in there getting on the end of things. So I'm going to throw something out there because I was having a discussion with someone about this, and I was thinking about it. I actually don't know. I know we've all talked about this 4-2-2 system that Danny Rohl's been playing, and I thought it worked amazing against Hearts when they won 4-2. It did work in parts of the Old Firm game, but I feel it's kind of really like, I know that the final third's been quite poor for Rangers in general this season, but I actually at the minute feel that it's really, really blunting it with those two playing up top, like in that scenario. Like there's no real penetration. Everything just seems a bit slow. You know, and I was watching the game yesterday, like St Mirren weren't great, obviously, but the space they had between, like, you know, like your two kind of sixes or where they're kind of sitting, and that gap, like it just invites teams in there as well. So I was just, I don't know. I don't know if I'm as convinced as I was originally about this 4-2-2. But then there's an argument about we can't play this lone striker, but we've not seen the Deary do it yet, which I have, you know, said a couple of times. Like, could he maybe do that? I don't know, but he'd spend more of his time fighting with defenders outside the box rather than being in the box. So I don't know. I'm not convinced by it at the minute. But I do think if you are going to do it, then at least try it a different way around. Like, try making the Deary your quote unquote, you know, number 9, and then have Chermiti slightly further back. But I'll be honest, I think you still end up with a similar result in terms of the two of them dropping further out the equation, you know, trying to get on the ball and nobody being there. You know, I'm almost looking for someone who was like a Chris Boyd type in terms of who's going to just be standing there, ready to put the ball in the net, and it's another player doing the work of the front two. But I don't see that in a minute. I feel they're very, very samey in terms of how they want to play.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, mate. I think that this that 4-2-2-2 is maybe a bit too sophisticated for our league. Maybe against, I mean that with all respect, right? Maybe against Celtic at what I think we're set up really well to have. We've got the right players to like play like a Gasman on the left, a Skov Olsen on the right wing, proper wingers, right? And then you can mess around with whatever combination you want in the middle. I still think we're missing someone in there, but Raskin and Toshi, or Barron and Raskin, or Barron and Toshi, whatever it needs to be, and you could still get away with the front two up front. I mean, yeah, yesterday. Let's. I mean, I wanted to get to this later, but we might as well touch on it now. We had 23 crosses into the box yesterday. And most of them were coming from Raskin, kind of putting in-swingers into the. I mean, we'll talk about two Romans goal. It was a great cross in a minute, but a number of them came from him. Skov Olsen, Gasama, Mikey Moore weren't really bombing down the wing and putting crosses in. We've got two big lads in that box that I've seen in the past are capable of using their noggin. Do you know what I mean? I think we're missing an opportunity there. So I agree with you, mate. I think this 4-2-2-2 is not complementing it. It's not the best. It's probably we don't have the right players to play it. It's probably one of the main issues. If you're not going to play Bajrami, if you've not got Ant-Man available, if you're depending on Gasmam, I'm sorry to keep banging on about it, but you're going to play Gasmam kind of playing inside right. That is just not going to work for me. So. But I don't know. Like, is Nadiri doing enough? Is Nadiri like Chermiti? I think we've already established Chermiti's not doing enough. I don't know any fan that disagrees with that. I think a lot of fans are clinging on to hope that he's going to come good. He's still young. Nadiri's still young as well, but Chermiti has obviously turned up in the big games, scored some cracking goals. We've seen what he's capable of. We've also seen him be a massive, clusterfuck whenever he's trying to do stuff. And I don't know, yesterday, again, I was watching him try to do little flicks and tricks instead of just getting into the box and being where he should be. And if he's not going to be that guy that gets into the box, then I think Nadiri is probably a lot better suited to it. I still I know no one agrees with me for this, but I still reckon Miovski and Nadiri would make a good partnership because of that. If he wants to play with Nadiri kind of sitting back a little bit deeper. But Miovski's not exactly covering himself in glory whenever he gets a chance. He did run about like a blue-ass fly yesterday, but didn't do much else when he came on. So, yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I did say a couple of weeks ago, I think our forward line is just lacking something. It's just missing creativity. It's missing, I don't know. If we had a Scotty Arfield and a Jermaine Defoe in that team, I think you would see a very different output from an attacking perspective. I mean, yesterday again, we were passing accuracy 80%, which is really good. Right, forward passes, we had the same amount of forward passes as St Mirren did, believe it or not. We had far more backward passes than St Mirren did. They had 69, we had 86, which is unbelievable when you think about the quality of the two teams. But then you look at the shots again, similar to the last couple of games, 17 shots, 7 on target. We managed to score 1 goal. I know, again, like the stats can paint a picture. You can't hang your hat on them, but there's something we're just not putting it together, mate. There's something missing up front for us, and I think I don't think it's quality. I just think it's the wrong people in the wrong positions. Maybe it's tactics as well.
I kind of agree with that because I know there's a lot of chat about, I've seen people even saying Nadiri looks like a third division German, a German third division player, and we spent 5-6 million whatever us to get him in now. I think he will still come good. I mean, I do like the look of Nadiri. I just think sometimes it looks quite isolated as well. Like, so see when he's running and he gets onto the ball but he finds himself maybe more up the channel. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was watching the game and he picks up the ball, he's pressed, because I think he's actually very, very good at pressing. I will say that. And he seems to absolutely exhaust himself, but just, I don't know. I know he's known for this kind of being more like having a good link-up play. I remember that was a lot of chat about him before they signed, and he could play this second striker role, which again is fine, but the other striker has not been in the box, as I've touched on already. So, I don't know. I could argue that he's not doing enough. He's certainly not scoring enough goals, but he's not really putting himself in the position to score goals. Do you know what I mean? You think of it, and I know we're talking about Queen's Park, but just in terms of like when he scored that goal, like he was getting more in the box. Like, I don't even feel he's been making the same amount of, I don't want to say effort, but the same amount of runs. Do you know what I mean? Or find himself in the box, because he definitely had chances that day, and you could argue it's the opposition, etc. I just felt like yesterday, like you're talking about, I'm really shocked at the amount of shots that we had and on target. Again, I would argue it didn't feel like that. Pretty much the same with we talked about the Celtic game, that we had all these chances. It was 20 plus shots. Again, I don't feel like it felt like that. And as we've said before, the eye test says a lot more sometimes than the stats. The amount of backward passes, it doesn't surprise me, but sometimes it does feel quite conservative from Danny Rohl. I just think he doesn't have to be. Like, you spent that money and you talk about control, and sometimes I think you need a bit of chaos. Like, you know what I mean? I think I almost feel we've flipped in terms of, I always talked about Clement when he was here, and talking about how he was more chaotic in terms of like the style Rangers played, and there was always opportunities in the transition, etc. I feel like Danny Rowe is obviously now trying to get more of a control aspect in the game, and we've went too much the other way, because we've seen in that first half against Celtic in the league that was more like dynamic from Rangers and what they could play like. But then there was the flip side of, look what happened in the second half. They were lacking the control, etc. So kind of part of me feels that's feeding into maybe what his thinking is. I don't know, but yesterday I always just felt really conservative. I mean, I want to see a team that's pressing relentlessly. Now, granted, there might be a fitness, there might be, take time to get that over there, but I just don't see that at the minute. But I did want to note one thing, and I will say this is, I watched Danny Rowe screaming at the players yesterday towards the end of the game, and they must have been dropping back. He was standing in the touchline, he's telling me, get up the park, and that's what concerns me, is like still that they almost feel they want to drop back as well. Like he clearly didn't want them to be dropping back in that situation. You know, he's shouting at him to get up the park.
Yeah.
So it's like, where does that come from? Why did they make that decision to do so? Like, you know, because we've seen all this chat about, you know, him happy with a 1-0 lead and, you know, sitting on it, etc. But that to me was as clear as day is that he did not want them sitting so deep. So I almost feel in a way that subconsciously, when you've got these kind of deeper midfields, you're almost like encouraging it. You know what I mean? People to sit naturally deeper. So I don't know. I just, there's something missing. There's something missing in terms of being really aggressive, like, you know, like in terms of doing it for more than, like, you know, the odd spell in games. Like I always want a team who presses relentlessly. Now, I get you can't do it for 90 minutes, but I want to see it, you know, I don't know, 30 out the 45 minutes, do you know what I mean? Or that kind of effort. And I just don't see it at the minute. And again, I don't know if he refuses to talk about mentality. And I don't like to use the term mentality, but again, like, why are they? I'm asking the question, but why are they sitting so far back? Why are they dropping back into shape against St Mirren, who haven't had a lot of chances? You know what I mean? And again, when you watch it back, probably the game wasn't that bad, like, you know, but it doesn't feel that at the time. It feels very, very tense, very fraught. And I think you'd said to me you felt at any point they could score, particularly in that second half.
Yeah, I mean, we were in control of the game. This is something we keep talking about recently, isn't it? We feel like we're in control of the game. We don't. There wasn't. I mean, they had one shot yesterday, I think. Like, so it's not as if, was it one shot?
I think they had one shot on target.
One shot on target. Yeah, sorry, they had 6 shots overall, one shot on target. So were we ever in danger? I didn't feel like that, but I think it's just that scar tissue where you're seeing it play out, and it just seems like very turgid, very negative football. And I'm just waiting for that break. Somebody catches on the break, and we concede that goal. And I don't think I spoke to a fan that wasn't in the last kind of 30 minutes just sitting there thinking, this is going to be a 1-1 draw, you know? But at the same time, it's funny, isn't it? I don't remember feeling like we were ever under any pressure from them. But the backwards passing for me, see, so this is where it's good for me and you. This balance, right? You're on the Danny Rohl train. I'm on the back cart of the train, right? You're at the front of the cart. I'm at the back cart. I've got a feeling that Danny Rohl does and says things sometimes with the, you know, knowing that the fans are watching. I don't know how you can set up a team to be as toothless as we are at times with certain players in certain positions and then scream at them to attack. I don't know what they're doing in training. There's that old saying, right? Russell Martin's team probably looked amazing because they were playing Russell Martin's team, Russell Martin's B team, right? I'm not saying that's the case with Rohl. I don't want to be. I'm not putting him in the same bracket as Martin before anybody pans me, but I don't know what they're doing in training, but he's screaming at them to get forward, and I don't know where the outlets are. Again, yesterday, we've got 18-year-old Mikey Moore as, dare I say that he is almost like your talisman now. Mikey Moore, 18 years old, loanee from Tottenham, superstar in the making, in my opinion. I think this is the birth of a superstar. That being said, he scored 5 goals and he's had 2 assists in about 24 games. So he's contributing 1 in 4. And that's our main outlet at the moment. That's where everyone's looking to get something. And he, again, was absolutely knackered by about 70 minutes yesterday. And then he nearly fucking jarred his knee as well. Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh, no, my head in my hands, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be overly negative. Let's get to the positives, right? We did win yesterday. 2 Romans, my boy, right? 2 Romans, the sexy bastard that he is. Nico, let's start with Nico Raskin, right? Because I do want to touch on this. Nico Raskin, for me, I've been complaining about how far back Nico Raskin's sitting. I think you've said yourself as well. He's not a 6. Maybe he wants to be. Don't know what he seems to be all over the place. You've said in the past he's like a dog chasing the car. I feel the same, right? But when he is playing that kind of more progressive 8 role, if you want something like that, he's not a 10, but kind of pushing an attacking 8. I think he's night and day. He's just. Yeah, and we've seen it again yesterday. What he can do in that final third, he puts a lovely ball in for Tour Romans over the top of the defense. It's as easy as you want, but Tour Romans takes it brilliantly, finishes it with his left peg. Yeah, Tour Romans. Would you like? First of all, would you make of Raskin playing further forward, and secondly, Mr. Sexy Tour Romans. What do you make of him, mate?
I can't disagree with you about the Raskin scenario. Like, I think there's a lot of chatter that he wants to be a 6, and someone just has to tell him he's not a 6. I think that just kind of point in case. Now, Raskin wasn't like, you know, a 10 out of 10 yesterday, but just the sheer difference of him being slightly further forward was noticeable. To even when you're talking about, you know, we were talking about like how dominant, and I say that loosely, about the performances were in the last couple of games, and he was still anonymous, but he was much better, like much better. And then even the ball he plays in for Tour Romans is fantastic, but he's finding himself in that position to do so, rather than being further back and not getting into that position. So I think, again, for me, like, if you're going to play someone else with Raskin's not your sitter. You know, he's not your 6. He's not the one that sits slightly further back and dictates. He's definitely more, aggressive, getting up there, supporting the game, giving a chance to nick a goal, etc. I mean, there's been times I've watched Raskin have a dig from outside the box, which granted is few and far between for Rangers, but you know, came close, he's hit the post, or the keeper's made a good save. I'm like, this is what this guy can do if you just let him play further up. Two Romans. I mean, I must admit myself, I'm quickly, becoming a bit of a favourite of mine as well. I mean, gets up there, scores a goal, fantastic. But I mean, for me, it's just the fact that he's up there making that run, finding himself in that position, and I know you've touched on this before. He's just got a bit of madness about him, I think, and I think he really has a bit of grit about him that he wants to win. I was just watching him yesterday, just battling with like the St Mirren players running down his side, and don't be wrong, there was times there was one of the guys from St Mirren ran right past him, right? But he wasn't giving up on it. Like, you know, he wasn't giving up on it. He was like, I'm going to keep chasing him down. He got back, he made it awkward. You know, he found himself on the floor a couple of times from challenges, and I was like, he's just all action, like, for me. And I mean, he's just settled in so well. Like, he's definitely been the highlight so far.
Is he the best signing we've seen for the last few seasons? Last
for
2 or 3
me,
seasons?
I
can't think of anyone better.
I can't think of anyone who pips him in terms of, and I see impact. Like, look, he's not coming in and scoring loads of goals, but I feel very, very comfortable with him down the left-hand side. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel he's really going to work hard and get back in and defend. Like, you talk about when Barisic was there, how many times did he get, you know, the run on him on like his blind side, or someone coming in between him and the centre half? I don't feel you're going to get that with Romans. And if it does happen, it's going to take a good bit of quality.
Yeah.
But even then, he's still going to try and make it difficult. I think that's the kind of point I want to emphasise. But I think he's been fabulous.
It's probably going to be a step down for him, right? But I can see him playing for Barcelona or Real Madrid someday, one of those teams. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't realise it yet. Don't do it to her. It'll be a step down for you, mate. But he's got that kind of quality. I don't know. He reminds me, I know Van der Vaart used to play kind of left-sided midfield, and he played central midfield later on. He reminds me of a young Van der Vaart. I don't know if you remember Van der Vaart when he was, before he got worse as he got older, by the way. But Van der Vaart when he was younger, when he was tenacious, etc., he real quality, and he used to kind of play sitting, not left back, but kind of left-sided midfield as well. And I've already, obviously, he's got that touch of madness, like I've said, like about Rickson. I think we've now got 2 Romans. I think Toshi's not. I think you've got 2 Romans. If you put him in a 50-50, he's winning it. Toshi, I think, if you put him in a 50-50, he's winning it. probably Nadiri. I mean, I've just obviously criticised Nadiri there, but he's tenacious enough to get in there and about it. That's 3 more than I think we had previously. I don't know. Maybe Giga and Fernandez are kind of moving that way as well. But previously, I didn't think we had a great deal of players that would win those 50-50s the majority of the time, and those guys do. So let's touch on some of these decisions yesterday, right? And this comes off the back of I seen you in the chat as well. The other game with that lot and some of the decisions they got at the weekend there against Motherwell, right? I've been on record saying that I don't believe it's corruption. I think there's maybe unconscious, probably conscious bias out there. I don't know what is going on, but it's getting ridiculous. However, that's that game. Our game yesterday. I need to be honest, mate. There's an argument with the handball. Why was Sterling handball a couple of weeks ago given, and why was this not? I know it's at opposite end of the pitches, but the ball's going goal bound. His hand is there. Yes, it's further away, but what are the rules there? I mean, is there like a 1 meter distance, a 2 meter distance? It's like there isn't any black and white rules around this. So for me, I said a couple of weeks ago that I didn't disagree with Sterling's handball because I understood the rules of the game, even though I thought it was ridiculous because you can't get your hand out of the way. The same thing applies yesterday. Gogic can't get his hand out of the way, but the ball's going towards the goal. Why is that not a penalty?
Do you know, this is the thing for me, right? And I don't think there's a conspiracy there. I have to say, I don't think that's the case. I'm going to be blunt. I just think we have really shit referees, right? And that is just. But the point is, you can also. I don't want to say blame people. You can understand why people have these ideas because some of it is just like that is the point. I was talking yesterday when I was watching the game, and I'm looking at the 2 incidents. Like you talk about the Sterling one, right? I mean, fair enough, that's a handball, right? And I have no problem accepting that's a handball. But for me, then yesterday's a handball. Do you know what I mean? Like, where's the definition? Like, where it all seems kind of convoluted, complicated. Nobody really knows where it stands on. Like you talked about, has your hand got to be here? Has it got to be there? Like at the end of the day, and this is just me, and I could be wrong. For me, it should be something very simple, as in if the ball within the box is going in the direction of the goal, the hand gets in the way, it's a penalty. Right, and if we can just have that, then that's fine. That wouldn't matter if somebody has a shot inside the box and it looks like it's going in the direction of the goal.
That's what I thought it was, Jack. That's why I'm scratching my head. That's why I said I understood the Sterling one. So what the fuck happened yesterday?
And that's so. Then you think about it, you've got VAR, and I'm like, right, okay. I can't believe it was a mistake, right? In terms of like, how did you not see it, right? But okay, that happens. But then you go back to the VAR question. Like, that's what VAR's there for, to say, by the way, just so you know, this has been happened, right? Go and have a look at it or whatever. Or if it's factual, I don't know. This is my point. For me, the thing that drives me up the wall is the consistency kind of aspect and all the lack of decisions. Now, listen, I know we're talking about Rangers, and I've not seen this back a few times, but I did see there was a penalty yesterday. I think it was in the Dundee United and Falkirk game. I think it was it against Simon Murray? I'm not quite sure, but same idea. The ball hits his hand in the box, and I'll be honest, I was kind of going, that can't be a penalty based on what I'd seen from the Rangers game. He's hardly even looking at the ball, hits his hand. Do you know what I mean? It's not even like he's and it doesn't even look like it was going on goal. Again, granted, I need to watch it back, but I'm looking at it, I'm going, so he gets a penalty, which looks less likely to go in or be a shot at goal. Yet Rangers don't get a penalty, but then Rangers get a penalty against them for the same situation. Do you know what I mean? Like a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And that point there about outstretched and tucked in, right? at the minute, it feels to me the only way you're never going to get given a penalty against you for handball is like if your hands is like that. But
yeah, but
there's
that's
no
one's going to be
consistency.
able to jump naturally if you're taking you're if you've got physical attributes that enables you to jump higher, right, or whatever, but be physical and jump. Like you use your hands to do that. You can't just. It's just not possible. And again, I go back to the fact that the Sterling one. Sterling did the exact same thing. Yes, his hands was out. What was Sterling meant to do? Pull his hands in? He couldn't. There was no opportunity for it. And I empathise with Gogic yesterday. He had no opportunity to do it either. But it's the same fucking thing. Is that, why is one given, one isn't? So yeah, tucked in, I agree, outstretched. I know that's part of the rules, I believe. But I also thought if it was going goal bound, now would the keeper have got that yesterday? Possibly, right? There was a much better chance of the keeper getting it than the Sterling one. But yeah, I heard Chris Jack covering it earlier on, and he was talking about distances as well. Yeah, tone 70. It's not that. That's what Jack's saying. It's just the consistency is so frustrating, man. So frustrating. So I do want to talk about VAR because there was a decision later on, right? I got into it yesterday with another one of the Bears on one of the other channels. So my opinion of VAR is fairly straightforward. If you go down to the Premiership, you go over to La Liga, you even go over to Norway, right? They've got like 14, 18, in some places 24 cameras around the stadium that are all set up for VAR. Cost them about €2 million per year, £2 million pounds, sorry, per year. Sorry, I'm in Ireland, that's why I talk euros. £2 million a year. It costs us about 1.5 to put 6 cameras around the stadiums in Scotland. So VAR in Scotland has 6 cameras, and just about every other country, including Azerbaijan, by the way, has about 14 plus cameras. Now, part of the VAR agreement, and this is where I got it wrong with the argument I was having with another bear yesterday, is that we can utilise broadcasting cameras when the match is live as well. I didn't know that. I looked it up, and that is indeed factual. We can use Sky, we can use Premier Sports. But the problem is Sky and Premier, etc., those guys are all set up for viewing spectacles, right? They're not set up to, figure out whether or not a goal's offside, etc. So I've got a very straightforward opinion on this. If you can't do it right, don't do it. Just, I mean, it's absolutely killing the game as well. Like how many times now in the last couple of years you celebrate a goal and then you're like, oh, and then you stop celebrating and you're like, oh, I need to wait and see if this is, and then you re-celebrate, but it's not the same, right? It's silly. So I suppose for me, the juice is not worth the squeeze at the moment. We can't do it right. Our referees are terrible as well, so throw that into the mix. But yesterday they draw the lines for Mikey Moore puts the ball in puts fellow Asgard in. They draw the lines, and the picture that they show, the snapshot of it shows that fellow Asgard is offside. I don't know, mate. It didn't look offside when I seen the original play. When I seen the replay a few times after that, the snapshot looked like it was a different snapshot of a different. It looked like the ball had already left Mikey Moore's foot, but by the time they took the snapshot. But when they take it, the two lines are drawn. It does indeed look like it's Mike. I don't know if it's just that you're being misled because of the angles of the cameras and the way that the pitch is, etc. But it looked dodgy as hell, mate. And whatever happened to giving the striker or the attacker the benefit of the doubt, it just seems to have went out the window. VAR just seems to be looking to chop goals off now. I seen a crazy statistic earlier on about how many goals Rangers have had chopped off this season compared to other teams. It's crazy. It's like double. Yeah. Thoughts on the offside and thoughts on VAR in general, mate?
All right. I mean, just going through what I've seen, right? I thought it was mental that it was offside, just on the basis of like the lines I've seen drawn in so many angles, right? And for me, that's when it comes to the more pertinent question around VAR, like you're saying now. Okay, we can use broadcasting cameras, right? But same idea. They're not set up for that. They're set up for, viewing and what people are seeing at home, etc. I don't mind VAR as a concept. I really, truly don't. But I do remember before it ever came in anywhere in football, and everyone was like, oh, it's going to be so boring. There's going to be a lack of controversy, etc., all across the kind of footballing world. And it has done anything but. Now, I think it's get better over the years, particularly like leagues, bigger leagues in Europe and down in England and stuff. People watch matches there, Sky Sports, but it's like you need that level of like accuracy with the cameras. Do you know what I mean? And I think you've got a point. Like, why? Oh, for example, if you talked about Norway spending nearly £2 million, right, and we're spending £1.5 million, like, do you not just find a way to either pay the proper money, like the extra £500,000, whatever it is,
Azerbaijan, mate,
and get it done properly? Now, listen, the other thing for me is, like, I do agree, if you're not going to do it properly, don't do it at all, because the technology has to be the full package to work properly, personally. Forget about broadcast cameras. Like, I don't buy into it. Yeah, they can use them, but for me, it's not. For me, that's a way of saving money and not actually putting the proper product out there. The other thing for me is, our refs are really bad, right? They are bad. But at the minute, I would actually take them having to make a decision at the minute rather than they're not making decisions most of the time for me, and they're thinking, oh, it's okay, VAR will pick that up. And for me, that's not what VAR's there for. I mean, and I can't get my head around this personally, because if it was me, I'm not a referee, not that I would want to be, but I would be more comfortable making a decision going, I know I have someone there who's going to be like, oh, by the way, Jack, I'm not sure about that one, go and have a look. But there's a lot of time where a penalty instant, they just kind of like wave play on, and then the ball will go out and they'll be like, oh, hold on, I'm speaking and talking to the VAR now, and it's like, well, what was your thought? What was your decision? Like, you're the ref. So I don't think it's actually helping them in terms of making decisions. I feel they're letting VAR do it for them. It's almost like there's almost, and this is just this is my thinking. It's almost like they think, actually, I'll be showing up for how bad a referee I am with how many decisions that we have to refer to VAR, like whether it's a red card, handball, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't get the system at the minute, and quite frankly, if we're not using it properly, then we shouldn't be using it at all. I mean, there's nothing worse than celebrating a goal and it's chopped off. It's absolutely brutal. And the classic one was the Manny Fernandez one, the other day. Right? I was a handball, right, and VAR did do its job there in the Old Firm game. But I mean, I was up here, and then I was like, oh, like, it's a handball. They're going to chop that off, like, it's coming. And I get that's what it's good for, but I don't know. There's pros and cons to it, but at the minute, it's just not doing its job, quite frankly. And I think I'm with you. If you're going to do it properly, or don't do it at all.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that number that someone shared with me earlier on. I could be wrong here. I'm going to dig it out, but I think it's something like 18 goals or something we've lost. We've been chopped off this year. Celtic have had like 6. I don't know. It's in the chat, Jack, if you're looking for it, mate. It's there somewhere. But it's doing my nutting, mate. I want to go back to the days where you could score a goal and celebrate and not have to deal with this crap. Do you know what I mean?
18 goals. Sorry, just to cut across you.
Is it 18?
Goals, aye.
And then it's Celtic is 6, isn't it? And Hearts are something like 12 or 9 or something like that.
That's kind of crazy. But this is what builds people's pictures around bias, unconscious or not, conspiracies, etc. But then you sometimes have to go, surely, Canny, this is what you talk about. It's not about us just being unlucky. It's actually down to the competency of the people who are actually operating the system and the lack of ability of the system to do its job properly.
Yeah. Okay, I do want to. I don't want to get back to Danny Rohl's managerial decisions, but I have to. I'm sorry. Just it's me we're talking about here. Danny Rohl's substitutions yesterday. again, one in particular I'm going to get to that actually I think a lot of people have been putting a positive spin on it, Mr. Asgard, but he brings on DJ Gasama, comes off for Skov Olsen at 58 minutes after Gasama have absolutely stinking the place out. Don't really understand. Again, I'm not going to go over it. I'm not going to repeat myself. That should have probably been the person that started in the first place if there wasn't, if Bajrami isn't fit, if Ant-Man is not fit, etc. But then for me, like he brings Barron on at 72 minutes, and it's great to see Connor Barron back. And I think to touch on something you said a couple of weeks ago, you could see straight away Barron was taking the ball, pinging it left, right. Do you know what I mean? Just he opens up the range from the midfield, something different from what we've already got. And I can't wait to see Barron and maybe Toshi or just Raskin pushed forward a bit more. But Barron comes on and I think he does great, and it's great to see him back. From that point on, mate, I just feel like there's not really, like we spoke about the last kind of 30 minutes. Everybody's kind of just waiting for St Mirren to score. I felt like yesterday again, and I've had this feeling a number of times, it was just kind of almost I'm going to stick to what I'm doing right now, and I'm just going to, anyone that's tired, going to bring on someone else that's going to do the same role and the same job, even if they're not even worse or less capable of doing that job. I thought tactical nous was severely lacking yesterday with the substitutions again, mate. Just to give you the granular detail. So Miovski comes on for Nadiri, 81 minutes. Asgard comes on for Chermiti. You could argue that that's a changing of the formation if you want, but it actually probably wasn't. Migoma comes on for Two Romans. Two Romans looked absolutely knackered. Had his knee wrapped up as well. I hope that's not going to be a concern. But yeah, fellow Asgard off the cuff of that. I've seen a number of people giving him credit. I thought he was shite. I know he broke through, and we can have that conversation about whether he was offside or not. He had a couple of good moments, but other than that, I thought he was just kind of running around, not really looking like he knew what he was doing. I don't get it. Just because he had a couple of moments like that, he was on the park for 20 minutes, and I don't think he done much. But substitutions and fellow Asgard, mate. And sorry, just to be clear as well, fellow Asgard for me, I've heard some people saying maybe fellow Asgard should be getting more opportunity. I have no idea where that's coming from. Just because he had a couple of moments yesterday, all of a sudden you forgive the past. Should he get an opportunity? Does every player deserve the opportunity? Improve, etc. Absolutely. But for me, I don't think he did much yesterday. So yeah, substitutions, fellow Asgard. And what's your thoughts, mate?
I'm going to start with Thelo Asgard. I've said this a few times, right? When he signed, I was excited. And I said, I don't know if I get lost in the name. More than anything, he just sounds like an exotic player, even though he's from Norway, which is freezing. Anyway, besides the point. So he come on, and again, I have to agree, like, I don't think he done much. I mean, if he gets a goal, you go, well, he's come on, he's gave a goal, right? And that might change the narrative slightly. But for people saying he should have had more of an opportunity recently, I mean, I would agree with that if, he's came in previously, had an opportunity and done really, really well, right? And he's been bombed out of the team for whatever reason. But, I mean, I don't think he's been deserving of being in the team. I've not thought like, oh, it's a scandal that he's not been playing recently, etc. Now, granted, like you said, yeah, the players should get a chance. Of course, they should get a chance. But am I going to hang my hat on Thelo Asgard to come in, when we've got 8 cup finals left now? Probably not. What he's done beforehand, like that doesn't get forgotten. Like, listen, he could come back in the summer, have a good pre-season, become a different player. And do you know what? I'd love that, right? Nobody would love that more than me, like, because I want players when they come to Rangers to do well. But he's not deserving of it at the minute anyway. Like, I know I've said about Skov Olsen's been, not great since he got here. Even Bajrami's been out the door more times than I remember recently, you know, but he's still here. But I feel like you're going to get more from them, or you know, just particularly Bajrami. Like I just think Bajrami's get the more of the effort and application. I just think Thelo Asgard wants too long on the ball, likes too many touches. I sometimes think he thinks he can just stroll through games, like even if the 20 minutes, and it's like I just don't need that at the minute. So not for me. What I do find strange is it's quite damning of Miovski that he bringing on someone like Asgard before, you know, bring on another striker. Now, like you said, you could make the argument of change of formation, fine, but Miovski's really not getting a look in at the minute at all. And I find it kind of strange because I remember for a while there was obviously back in, but it was before Christmas, but you know, Miovski and Chermiti, they would maybe chop and change between the two of them who was starting. Miovski was scoring some goals, like, you know, and then everyone was kind of making the argument actually he should maybe be the starting striker, but he's just fell off a cliff in terms of like, you know, since he's been out, he's not come back in.
He's not played, mate.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying, but it's weird. It's like he's not even really had the opportunity. So I don't know if Danny Rohl just doesn't fancy him, like, you know, and if that's the case, that's the case. But I mean, he will get in the box. I will say that from Miovski. He can finish. Like, you know, I'm not even going to, regardless of what he does outside the box, like he can do those things. So I would be looking to use him at some point in games. And then Magoma comes on. It's like he says, like for like to an extent, but I mean, he's hardly played in all since Tua Robbins has come in, which fine. Tua Robbins has been great, but
yeah,
like it's quite hard. Like I don't know if there's an element of, if I was Jane Magoma, would I probably feel slightly resentful? Maybe slightly, because like, you know, he wasn't one of the worst players in that team, and he was played every single game, and he's not really even starting now. Which, again, I want to Ramos to start, but I'm just trying to think of like the narrative from some players. You know, like it's kind of, you need to watch you also don't rock the boat slightly as well. In terms of coming down this, because you might need them. But again, it just, I don't know. It just, like you said, it's a bit like for like. It doesn't really change the flow of the game. You know what I mean? You're looking for something different in terms of how it's going to adapt or change the game. But it's almost like just to keep people, like try and keep them fresh. Do you know what I mean? And like, you know, save people for the next game. So yeah, I wasn't overly enamored by any of them. But just particularly the main one, Thelo Asgard, like, you know, I'm never excited to see him come on at the minute, I'm afraid.
I think I just you'll know yourself, mate. I refer to Asgard as a certain type of individual that I'm not going to mention here, but I just think he seems like he's shitting his pants every time he comes on that part to me, and we do not need that. We just don't. You know, I keep saying Bajrami. I don't know what was going on with him yesterday. Why is Gasman starting ahead of Bajrami? Why is Thelo Asgard on the bench ahead of Bajrami? I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. And it's, you know, I wanted to reference the substitutions again because I just felt I'm starting to get concerned, and I think a lot of fans are starting to align with me. Not an overwhelming amount of fans. You know, I think the overwhelming amount of fans are still pro Danny Rohl. I'm still pro Danny Rohl as well. But there is a significant portion of fans that are starting to question some of these in-game management decisions, starting lineup decisions, and they are becoming more and more scrutinised week in, week out. And yeah, if we drop points in the next 8 games, then it's going to be heavily under the spotlight again if he continues to keep making decisions like this. Conor Barron being back, mate. What do you make of the wee man back? Breath of fresh air, yeah.
Very, very happy to see him back. And I think I'd said before, I mean, when Conor Barron went out, I was like, oh, yeah, I was gutted because he'd been playing well, but I didn't think I'd be as desperate as I was for him to come back. So for me, I think, like you said, I think that allows another player next to him to go further forward. Like, you know, I think just the difference. And I go back to those, like, you go back to the games, like, and I'm not going to harp back, but I've said this before about when you go to the Celtic, the 2-2 game, you just need someone to come on, just take the ball, you know, spray it about, and that's exactly what he can do. Like, you know, I'm not saying he's the best passer in the world, but He'll take the ball, he'll try and spread the play, and he'll try and dictate. He's not going to do what a Raskin or a Dio or a Toshi will do, which is break up play, get forward. Like, he will break up play, but he'll also just sit there, give me the ball, I'll pass it out to the left. Right, can't go with it, I'll take it back and recycle it. I'm just really happy that he's back, and hopefully he can get up to speed pretty quickly and be back in the side for me personally.
Yeah, I think we've missed him so much. It's no coincidence since he's been out that the results haven't been what they were previously. Right, two last things I want to get to here, mate. Danny Rohl's comments, both before the match and after the match. He started again back of the Danny Rohl train, front of the Danny Rohl train. I want to get your perspective of this. Before the match, he says verbatim, I want to see more of what we've seen in the last 3 performances, 3 games that we've drawn, right? I had no idea where that came from. I don't know where. Yeah, I don't know. I can't understand where that's coming from. And then after the game, cup final. He said it about 7 or 8 times. We've won one cup final. We've got another 8 to go. And I'm sorry. Again, this is probably based on the fact that maybe I'm not as positive about Danny Rohl as others are. Some of it is the 3 performances thing. I thought was just, I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know what his chain of thought is there and why he thought that was the right thing to say. But more so than that, I feel like this cup final stuff is just appeasing to the fans. If that was a cup final performance against St Mirren at the weekend, God help us, mate. So let's front of the train, Danny Rohl fan. Let's get your thoughts on that, mate.
Gonna need to start getting me some pom poms to be the Danny Rohl cheerleader in a minute. So I well, I'll start with the cup final chat. I get it in terms of where people's maybe like where your perspective is on it. I will say that I think in my head anyway, right, is like you said, if that was a cup final performance, like, oh God, like, but I think the narrative that I think he's trying to push is that it's win or bust, which is the way I think it is. This is where I sometimes will say, and it's not an excuse, but like, English not being the first language, he's trying to say a certain kind of analogy. I personally don't feel he's trying to be too clever with his words. I genuinely think he's coming across as, this is it. Like, like we need to win or you lose. That's that. Like, win or bust. How other people want to interpret that, that's entirely up to them. But at the front of the Danny Rohl train, that's how I feel about that at the minute. On the performances, however, so good 45 minutes against Celtic in the league a couple of weeks ago, horrendous second half. Better performance overall in the cup game, still a draw. We've talked about this. There was 24 shots on target. Didn't feel like it at the time. 24 shots on goal. Didn't feel like that at the time. Didn't feel dominant, quote unquote, as people have said. And then before that, if he's talking about the last 3, that would mean he was referencing the Livy game before that. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
I mean, see if he'd even tried to badge it as the last 2 performances, I maybe would have let him get away with it. But how can he reference the Livy game in that in general? I will be honest. Is it a slip of the tongue? Is he referring to the mentality part of it in terms of, coming back from 2-0 down? But that Livy game for me, regardless, like I'm glad we came back and got the point, right? Lo and behold, but they should never be going there and that should never be happening. Like, full stop. Like, I'm happy to come and go in certain things. Bottom of the league, Livy, going 2-0 down, getting a point, thank God. That's what it is. It's like, thank God we got something, not like, oh, it was a smashing result, smashing performance. So I don't really know where that came from. But I don't think you can preach about it that much, and he shouldn't be preaching about it that much because, the games have been draws. Nobody's lost in terms of the actual result, but, at the end of the day, it feels like a loss when you blow a 2-0 lead in the league against Celtic. you lost on penalties when you were probably the better side overall, and you had to come back and scrape a draw against, bottom of the league Livy. So
Yeah.
I don't think you can frame it in any other way as in like, I'm not really sure what he was trying to say. But then, like, people were talking about yesterday, we got the win. Like, was yesterday really any better a performance than those other performances? Probably not. Like, it's probably slightly worse, if I'm honest, but
less shots anyway.
so I get, but this is my point exactly. You saying less shots, but on the eye test, it just feels the same. Doesn't feel massively different. Like, I felt that Rangers played that 45 minutes against Celtic. They were outstanding. You had the game against Hearts where I thought they were brilliant. Other than that, I can't really remember any other fantastic football being played in this period recently, which is a concern. So I don't know. I don't know what he's trying to do with that comment. I'll have to be honest. For me, I don't think it was a smart comment. The cup final one, I will give him. I just think it's very much a case of it's win or bust. It's win at all means possible, which is not the worst mentality to have, but people have made the argument, well, is that not what the case is for 38 games during the season? But granted, he wasn't here from the beginning. I will give him that.
Yeah, it's winding me up, mate. I'm not going to lie. As again, I've said Danny Rohl is going to be our manager next season, and he deserves the opportunity to have a summer window, a summer training camp, a summer preseason, I should say. So that I am not taking that away from him. But geez, he winds me up something awful sometimes, mate. He really does. Winds my ticket big time. Some of these comments, but anyway, let's move on. James Tavernier, heavily rumoured to be in negotiations to extend his contract, mate. Now, we've covered this before, so I don't want to go over old ground. But it's becoming a reality that James Tavernier, my understanding is that he wants a longer contract than Rangers are willing to offer him. So money doesn't seem to be the issue. It seems to be the extension, the term of the extension. Soapy's been extended. We let Curtis go out on loan. We're now talking to James Tavernier to stay. I am I'm not optimistic with some of these off-field decisions that are being made as much as I am some of the on-field decisions, mate. James Tavernier, I think, has got something to give. I've admitted defeat with you on that front. That I think he's still got something to offer, and 20 minutes towards the end of a game, he can come on and add a bit of quality when the legs aren't as much of a necessity. But if James Tavernier stays, it opens up a can of worms with leadership, with captaincy, all these different things. I don't think the club is going to insult James Tavernier by stripping him of the captaincy if he stays, right? And I think that needs to happen. We need to move on from a leadership perspective. Soapy's already staying as well. So Jack Butland talking about wanting to extend. He's another one that I think, thank you. Thanks for your contributions, Jack. But I would like us to get a more well-rounded keeper in than Jack Butland. So some of these, this will drive fans absolutely mental. And anytime I've mentioned it in any chat I've been in, the response has been so negative. And the club missing a beat here that they need to move on from this? Or, I mean, what? I don't know what they're thinking. If this is legitimate, we don't know for a fact. And he hasn't re-signed yet. So let's see. What do you think?
You want my positive spin on it?
Whatever spin you've got.
Right. Okay. I've been for as long as I can remember, I've been a strong advocate for James Tavernier, and what he gave you made up for what he didn't in defence. And even recently, I'm talking about how he should be used and managed. But I think it's time to go. Honestly, for me personally, the best outcome would be Rangers win the league. Tav signs off in style. We all move on happy, right? The Suter and the Butland one, that's a conversation for a different day. Like, the Suter one's already happened. So, Butland,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a massive issue. I think Jack Butland has shown that he can be useful, but he has got, when he goes off form, for quite a while. And he's capable of throwing one in, sometimes 4 or 5 weeks on the trot. So that does concern me. The Tavernier one, money obviously isn't an issue. Okay, I'm going to be slightly controversial. If he was to stay and say get an extra year, right, and it's a rolling basis. Now, obviously, you're saying there's rumours about he wants a longer term, right? Do I have an issue with him being club captain in the background, knows he's not playing week in, week out? Probably not. Like, it does happen at a lot of clubs, like, where it's the person around the place. However, I'm also very aware of the narrative and the sentiment around Tavernier that, he is not a leader, not this person who should be around the club. So, therefore, by keeping him on, anything that goes wrong, that will still be tied back to Tavernier, to be tied back to the players that we've kept there, etc.
Yeah.
So, I think that has to be an awareness of that. But, and this is the other thing, I'm going to say it, like, I know when the takeover happened and the Americans came in, like, there was a big chat about them not listening to, like, they're not as emotionally invested or tied as we are. But at the end of the day, they were adamant, probably at the beginning, they were going to stick with Russell Martin. And, fan sentiment, wins every day when it comes that strong. I just don't think it's going to be helpful from them. Do you know what I mean? Like, me personally, if he stays and gets a year, knows he's not playing all these games, he's there as a club captain, you're going to have another captain on the pitch. The leadership structure could be slightly different with other players coming in. I personally am not offended by it, and that's the truth. However, the narrative and however a lot of majority of fans are going to feel about it is much more what you're saying. You're coming across, and I think they have to be very careful with it. I think maybe even in Tav's best interest, if he stays another year, it doesn't work out next year, the whole thing blows up again. It's just going to taint him some more. So I think it's a risk either way, personally, what they do. I mean, there's an element of, and I know this, and I've said this, like you said, I know Rangers won't insult him by stripping the captaincy of him, right? Or that you get that impression. But I always think to myself, there's been plenty of other people like Gerrard, even Ferguson. Ferguson was never going to do it, right? Personally, right? I get that. But nobody's ever wanted to take the captaincy off him when he comes in there. And I think something has to be looked into with that. That says something to me. So I don't have an issue with it. But I'd love to see what the reaction is if it went ahead and happened. I don't think he should be asking for more than a year, personally. Like, I don't think I think he's earned the right to almost ask for a year and they extend it and it be a rolling thing. But no chance should he be, asking for 2 or 3 years. To me, that's slightly insulting to the Rangers, if I'm honest with you.
It's mental. I think it was mentioned yesterday. It was like 578 games or something like that he's played for Rangers now. That's bonkers, man.
And how many of them has he been hated through? About 500?
Yeah, I know. Like, I just think it's so tone deaf of the club. If again, we're speculating here, there's rumours. I think it's really tone deaf of the club to be like, extending Soapy and now talking to Tav about an extension. Too many fans are going to be really, they're going to be off the I was going to say farewell. They're going to be off the 69ers and the Kavanagh train if decisions like that, if they're seeing that happening. Now, if we're winning on the pitch, it won't make a difference. But unfortunately, I'm skeptical whether or not we'll win anything this year again. Yeah, I think it's a bad idea. I think we need to move on. We need a new captain. We need new leadership. Just on the Jack Butland thing, I think Jack Butland, I've said this before, he's one of the best shot stoppers in England. It's in Britain, sorry. And that includes all the English goalkeepers, etc. I think he's one of the best shot stoppers, possibly in Europe. But that's where it ends with him. I think his distribution, etc., his commanding of his area, he's shocking. I seen Manny Fernandez absolutely balling at him yesterday. Young Manny Fernandez balling at him. He come out and get the ball because he was just not moving his arse. You know what I mean? So, by the way, props to Manny Fernandez and Giga yesterday. I'm not sure if I mentioned it. That boy's we're going to make a fortune off of that lad. He's what a player he is. Right. I want to just touch on one last thing. League table. As we stand, we are now back in the race, or are we? We're now on 60 points. Celtic on 61. Hearts on 63. We have both of those teams to play home and away. We will have Falkirk away. Both, whether or not this is part of the equation anymore, Hearts and Celtic will have Motherwell away. Or do they? Sorry, I think it's just Hearts that's got them away. Yeah. Did Celtic play Motherwell away at the weekend there?
No, it was home.
It was home. So they do have them. Both of them have got Motherwell away. We've got Falkirk away that I'm still a bit before the split. But yeah, given the fixtures, mate, do we dare to dream? Is the optimism back, or are you still? Sorry, I'm skeptical. Are you skeptical, mate?
I'll be honest. I'm still quite. I'm definitely more skeptical than I was. Like, I think post the Hearts game, I was like, brilliant. You know, we're going in this week. Bury one team. You know, keep going. It does feel like it's came off the rails a little bit. I think yesterday was just really important. Get the win, keep a clean sheet. You know, it stops all that draws and that nonsense. So we can park all that now, and then kind of move forward. I'll be honest. I will take 8-1 nils like yesterday between now and the end of the season. I don't care. Like, however, is it going to happen? I'm very doubtful. I think I was more hopeful about Motherwell in terms of them taking points off other teams. Obviously, the other ones are at home. You know, they could do something. They are more than capable, but
yeah,
I did see the highlights from the other day, and they're also capable of playing themselves into trouble as well. So, I don't know. All we can do is win our games, and I will hope with the highest of hopes, because that's what following football is all about. But who knows? We'll see come May.
I suppose the question is, can we perform the way we did yesterday and still beat some of those teams? I don't know. I really don't know. St Mirren are a shit show at the moment, and we were in control of the game again, but just, yeah, it didn't fill me with confidence, mate. We can but dream. I mean, it is massively realistic. I think that I'm going to just be straight as I die here. Celtic and Hearts are pish, and we are not great either. So from that perspective, it's anyone's game. You know, we are, you know, what we're coming in the last 5 games, we've won 2, drawn 3. So we're talking about 9 points from the last 5 games. That lot of 1, 3, drew 1, so they've taken 10 points. Hearts have won 3, drew, and lost 2. So in terms of the last 5 games, the form team is unfortunately the other lot from the other side of the city. So, and I think they've probably got the easier run of games after the split as well. So we will see what happens. Okay. I do want to touch on one last thing. Jack, you were not aware of this. I didn't want to tell you. So from that perspective, and my phone has gone off as well. Can you hear that? Or is it?
I can hear it, aye.
Okay. I'll get this out of the way. I did mention last week when I was talking about the Old Firm game that there is an old gentleman from Duke Street. His name is Alan Simpson. He is my father. He's well known around Duke Street. He was approaching his 80th birthday, and unfortunately he passed away after a long battle with lung cancer at the weekend there. He is well known around Duke Street, around most of the older people. Had a bit of a reputation for having a good time, did my dad, and he absolutely loved the Rangers. And I wanted to come on here today, whether or not I've giving a good account of myself, I wanted to come on here today and dedicate this to my father. So Alan Simpson sadly passed away at the age of 79 on Sunday at 5 a.m. So yeah, anyone that knows him, and I know there's quite a few people that watch this do know him, we will let you know the funeral arrangements, etc., in due course. So I'm sorry to end that on a sad note, and my apologies, Jack, for not letting you know. I didn't want this to take a different turn on the podcast. I wanted to get it in there. Like I said, I just wanted to dedicate this to my dad because he loved the Rangers. So yeah, rest in peace, Alan Simpson. Thank you very much for tuning in. Oh, Jack, if there's anything else you want to get off your chest, mate, then please feel free to do so.
No, not other than I hope you did enjoy me talking absolute nonsense every week. So yeah, sorry to hear that, Chris, but I appreciate, I get why you flung it in at the end there rather than telling me beforehand, so that wouldn't change my dynamic analysis of the Rangers. But no, there's nothing else for me other than, can we just get 8 wins, please? And then we can all just have a nice summer.
Yeah. Listen, but it's still open, isn't it? Let's see what happens. Yeah, thank you. Some real arseholes in the chat, by the way, just popping in there at the last minute. So yeah, do one. You've just been banned. Thank you very much. But thank you very much, Marcus. Yeah, listen. You know, it's funny. I was talking to my dad just about a week ago, and he's a lot of my opinions seem to be derived from my dad as well. He hates James Tavernier, and he was questioning marks all over Danny Rohl from day one as well. So I don't know. His legacy lives on. So yeah, I'll miss you, Dad. Thank you very much. He loved the Rangers, and again, I know there's plenty of people around Duke Street and Denniston that know my dad. His name is Alan Simpson. Wee Al was his nickname. And we'll miss you, Dad. But yeah, listen, hate to say this after saying that. If you could like and subscribe, people, we do appreciate you tuning in. It's been one of those pods where we've tried to make the best of what we're being served at the weekend. But it was a win. It was 3 points, and it's up the road. And it's on to the next one. We've got Aberdeen at the weekend. At home. Always give us a tough game, don't they? They always show up against us, mate. Might be rejuvenated as well under new management, so we'll see how that plays. But thank you very much again for tuning in all. Until next time, we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
We are gold and blue, born in 1872, the greatest team in the world. We are known as we follow on. We are the people through and through, the gold and blue, since 1872. With our hearts on fire, we rise to the call. Through the highs and lows, we'll never fall. Glasgow Rangers standing proud and true. Together we sing for the gold and